What if I told you the real Uhtred didn't grow up with Vikings, didn't struggle with his identity, and didn't die in a heroic last stand? What if his real story ended in a quiet betrayal that changed northern England forever? By the end of this video, you're going to understand who Uhtred the Bold really was and why the true story might be even more intense than the TV version. Let's go back over 1,000 years. Picture England around the year 1000. No cars. No electricity. No countries the way we think of them today. Instead, there were kingdoms. And those kingdoms were constantly fighting. Vikings from Denmark sailed across the sea in longships. Scottish armies marched south. Land meant power. And power meant survival. In the middle of all this chaos was Northumbria, the northern part of England. And guarding Northumbria was a giant fortress called Bamburgh. High cliffs. Thick walls. A perfect place to defend. That was Uhtred's home. The real Uhtred the Bold was born into a powerful Saxon family. His father was Uhtred, Lord of Bebbanburg. Unlike the TV show, he wasn't captured and raised by Danes. He grew up knowing he would one day lead and protect the north. Now imagine being a young leader in a place that gets attacked from two directions. From the north? Scotland. From the sea? Vikings. And that's exactly what happened. Around the year 1006, the Scottish king, Malcolm II, invaded Northumbria. This wasn't a small fight. This was a serious attack. The English king at the time, Uhtred, who later got the nickname the Unready, needed someone strong to stop it. Uhtred stepped up. He gathered an army and fought the Scots. And he didn't just defend the land, he crushed the invasion. Some old stories say that after the battle, the heads of fallen enemies were displayed on the walls of Durham. That sounds brutal. And it was. But back then, that was a message: we are strong. Don't attack us. Because of this victory, Uhtred became famous. The king rewarded him by making him Earl of Northumbria. That meant he was officially in charge of the entire region. But here's where things get complicated. England wasn't stable. Danish Viking attacks were getting bigger and stronger. These weren't just small raids anymore. Entire armies were coming to take the throne. In 1013, a powerful Danish king named Sweyn Forkbeard invaded England. And this time, he was winning. City after city fell. Even King Uhtred fled the country. So Uhtred had a choice. Stay loyal to a king who ran away or support the new ruler who was clearly taking control. Uhtred chose survival. He submitted to Sweyn. Now think about that. He didn't fight to the last breath. He didn't die for loyalty. He adapted. But then something unexpected happened. Sweyn died suddenly just months later. The old English king came back. And once again, the balance of power shifted. Uhtred switched sides again. Now you might be thinking, was he disloyal? Maybe. But in those days, loyalty didn't look the way we think of it today. Leaders had to protect their land and their people. If you supported the wrong king, you could lose everything. Then came Sweyn's son Nut. Nut was young, ambitious, and determined to rule England. He invaded again. This time, he wasn't going to give up. At first, Uhtred resisted him and supported the English side. But when Nut started gaining power, Uhtred once again made a decision. He submitted to Nut. And this is where everything changes. If you were Nut, would you trust a man who had switched sides more than once? Probably not. Uhtred was powerful. He controlled the north. He had a strong army. He was respected. But he was also unpredictable. In 1016, Nut invited Uhtred to a meeting. Maybe it was meant to discuss peace. Maybe it was supposed to show loyalty. But instead, it was a trap. Uhtred was killed by a rival named Thurbrand, most likely under Knut's orders. No giant battlefield. No dramatic final charge. Just politics. And just like that, Uhtred the Bold was gone. But here's the part that really shows how intense this world was. His death didn't end the conflict. It started a feud. Uhtred's son later killed Thurbrand in revenge. Then Thurbrand's son killed Uhtred's son. The fighting between their families went on for years. That's how serious honor and revenge were back then. One betrayal could echo across generations. Now let's talk about the biggest difference between the real Uhtred and the one in the Last Kingdom. The TV version is torn between being Saxon and being raised by Danes. That creates amazing drama. It's emotional. It's personal. But the real Uhtred's struggle wasn't about identity. It was about power. He lived during a turning point in history. Within a few years of his death, Knut would rule not just England but also Denmark and Norway. It became a North Sea empire. England was transforming from separate kingdoms into something more unified. Uhtred stood right in the middle of that change. He wasn't a fantasy hero. He was a regional warlord trying to survive in a brutal political game. And in many ways, that makes his story even more powerful. Because it reminds us that history isn't just about good guys and bad guys. It's about choices. Hard ones. Uhtred chose strength. He chose strategy. He chose survival. And for many years, it worked. Until it didn't. His flexibility helped him rise, but it also made him dangerous in the eyes of a king who wanted total control. So was the real Uhtred braver than the legend? Not necessarily. Was he smarter? Maybe. Was he more ruthless? Almost certainly. But most importantly, he was human. He lived in a time where one wrong decision could cost you your land or your life. And in the end, trusting Knut was the decision that cost him everything. History isn't clean. It's not always heroic. Sometimes it's messy and uncomfortable. But that's what makes it real. The real Uhtred the Bold wasn't a man caught between two cultures. He was a powerful leader caught between changing empires. And when empires shift, even the boldest warriors can fall. If you enjoyed discovering the true story behind Uhtred, make sure you like this video and check out the next one, where we break down the rise of Knut the Great, the Viking king who reshaped England. His story connects directly to this one, and trust me, it's just as intense.